Hello and welcome to the Cinematic Summary channel. In this video, we'll give you an easy and quick rundown of another critically acclaimed film. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give the video a like if you enjoyed it.
In a world where he was just anyone, Hutch Mansell's life is turned upside down when his house is invaded by two robbers. After refusing to defend his family, Hutch unleashes a long-simmering rage, revealing deep secrets and deadly abilities he almost forgot he possessed. Facing a dangerous Russian mafia lord and his brutal henchmen, Hutch must choose between being a wolf or a lamb. The question is, which one is Hutch? If you want to know this story, follow the video. The film begins with our protagonist, Hutch Mansell, who is injured and handcuffed in an interrogation in which they ask, "Who the hell are you?" Hutch responds, "Me? Nobody." Later, we discover that he lives the routine life of an ordinary man, using public transport and working in an office at a metal factory. Hutch lives with his two children and his wife Becca in a suburban house. The boredom of life gradually affects the family, and he has not been intimate with his wife in years, while his oldest son no longer admires him as before. One night, a couple of thieves invade Hutch's house, and they caught him trying to call the police with a golf club in his hands. They robbed him at gunpoint, but his son Blake grabs one of the robbers, allowing Hutch to attack and prevent the robbery. However, Hutch hesitates to act and tells his son to release the robber lying on the ground, allowing the two thieves to escape. The police notice Hutch vacillated by leaving a pizza box obstructing the garage gate. He feels demoralized in front of the family, except for his youngest daughter Sammy, who feels protected by her father and asks for a kitten for the house. The next day, Blake wakes up with a black eye, and the neighbor wishes that the robbers had chosen his house, getting excited about his V9 car. Hutch works with his brother-in-law Charlie, who is shocked that he did not attack the robber, and then hands him a gun to protect his sister. This is Eddie, the owner of the factory, and Becca and Charlie's father. He believes that Hutch's behavior during the robbery was the best within his limits. Hutch uses a radio in his office to contact his half-brother Harry, who is believed to be dead but knows about the robbery. He describes the robbers, who carried an unloaded gun, but says that he restrained himself because they seemed too scared and desperate. Harry knows what Hutch is thinking and tells him not to do anything stupid. Later, Hutch goes to his father David at a nursing home. He realizes his son is not doing well, so he asks him to remember who they were in the past. Hutch goes home, and Sammy can't find her kitten bracelet, thinking that the robber stole it. He then goes back to his father, takes an old FBI wallet, and says he needs to do something. David says he should do it. Hutch goes to some tattoo houses to get information about the robbers. He has resistance to getting it, but one customer sees the tattoo he carries and is shocked, making the tattoo artist give the location's robbers. Hutch goes to the robbers and threatens them, but realizes that they were a couple in need of money to take care of their baby, so he leaves. On the bus, a gang of 4 Russian bandits threatens people, and Hutch decides to intervene, locking himself in with them. He says he will take them all down and launches violent attacks against each of them alone. Hutch is stabbed, but he uses the knife to attack more violently and ends up throwing himself out of the bus with one of them. One of the Russians breaks the nose, and another loses the teeth, and Hutch returns to the bus and tells the girl inside to run. He continues to fight even more violently, stabbing the Russians and choking one of them. Hutch hits another one in the throat with a metal rod, but as he was not breathing, he improvises a tracheotomy with a straw, then leaves. At home, Becca was waiting for her husband and tends to his wounds, while he lamented and understood the distance that the couple was experiencing. The person disrespecting the traffic is Yulian Kuznetsov, an executive of the Russian mafia arriving at his nightclub. He makes a presentation upon arrival and then meets with some associates. One of them belittles the black Russian from Yulian's team, and another warns that that type of presentation does not inspire confidence and could compromise him. So Yulian slits the throat of one of the staring Russian investors, and everyone gets an additional 3% from Obshak, a company they have as a front. Julian sees his brother hospitalized and gathers information from gang members about who did it to him. One of the members gives Julian the subway card that Hutch has lost. The next morning, Harry calls Hutch and warns him that he has a problem and will need to seek out a man known as the barber. Upon arriving at the barber shop, Hutch meets with an intelligence group with information gleaned about Russian mobster Yulian Kuznetsov. The informants warn that Yulian wants revenge for his brother and will be sending his right-hand man Pavel and his men to attack Hutch's family. Meanwhile, Yulian obtains information about David and his employee blackmails her contact at the Pentagon for more information. Hutch also learns about Obshak, which functions as a private retirement plan for Russians and is being managed by Yulian. The Pentagon contact also obtains classified information that was hidden about Hutch. The employee hands everything over to Yulian and resigns from her profession. At night, Hutch notices strange movements in front of his house and hides his family in the basement. Pavel and his group invade the house, and Hutch begins to attack and gets rid of most of them. After some time fighting in the kitchen and hallways, Pavel surprised Hutch with a taser and carries him to the trunk of a car. While the car is moving, Hutch uses a fire extinguisher from the trunk to fill the car with smoke and cause a crash, killing 2 henchmen. Pavel, on the verge of death, hears Hutch telling him about his past as an auditor, a hired killer for intelligence agencies to eliminate untouchable people. Hutch runs home and tells David that what he needs to do has doubled in scope, instructing his father to stay alert. Then he tells Becca and the children to leave the house with the car and go somewhere safe while he resolves the problem. Hutch gathers his reserves of gold and money and joins the invaders, who survive to tell his story. He says he always worked very satisfied until the day he had mercy on a target who embezzled money from the government and said that he was deeply sorry. After a year, Hutch discovered that the man genuinely repented and wanted to remove his wolf's clothing to return to his post dressed as a lamb. Seeing that man building a new life for himself and his family, Hutch says he wished the same for himself, suppressing everything he had been in the past. When Hutch finds himself without listeners, he sets fire to the house to get rid of any evidence and takes the neighbor's V9 car. Meanwhile, 2 men go to David to kill him, but he pretends to be sleeping and ends up surprising the invaders with a trap. Hutch goes to the metal factory and makes a purchase offer, but despite Charlie's resistance, his father Eddie ends up accepting and selling. Hutch puts a maintenance notice on the door and begins to work on the construction of several traps throughout the factory. Harry communicates through the radio complaining about the mess he had to clean up at David's house and tells his brother to stop plotting against Yulian. But Hutch says he was awakened by what Yulian did when he threatened his family in his house and went after his father. Then he invades the Obshak and shoots everyone. Afterward, he goes to Yulian's art frames and takes one of them. He pours fuel into the water distribution of the fire prevention device and sets everything on fire, from Yulian's money to his art articles. So Hutch goes to Yulian, and when he feels threatened, he shows that he carries a claymore mine and tells him that he destroyed everything that the mobster had. Hutch says that now they are tied and need to put an end to it, as they both need to rise again. And after he leaves the nightclub, Yulian orders all his men to chase Hutch through the streets. Hutch flees with the V9 under a hail of bullets and tries to shake off the pursuing vehicles, but is cornered and has to flee in reverse gear. After managing to escape, he lures the Russians to the factory and discovers that Harry is covering him on the upper floor. Then David appears, also prepared to help his son. As the Russians invade, they are surprised by the traps hidden throughout the factory. David mocks his son, saying that he also tried to retire, but he missed it all. Harry leads some of the Russians to the upper floor, where he eliminates some of them and triggers other traps. Hutch erases the message of 204 days without accidents with time off from the factory, takes the Claymore mine, and triggers other traps. David also eliminates some Russians and triggers the traps. After they eliminate all the Russians, the 3 are cornered without ammunition against Yulian, who shoots Harry. Meanwhile, Hutch holds the Claymore mine to a bulletproof glass shield and goes towards Julian, who detonates the bomb with a shot. After eliminating all the Russians, the police siren blares and Hutch tells his father and brother to escape. The police arrested and interrogated Hutch, but after he claims to be nobody, they release him for lack of evidence. 3 months later, Hutch and Becca are buying a new house when he receives an unknown call, suggesting that he will return to action. In the end, Becca asks the real estate agent if the house has a basement.
So, did you like the video? We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on the movie, so please leave a comment below. Also watch other of our summaries of the best movies in cinema. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.